All right, so now we're going to actually do our job. All right. Listen. Shh. We want to be able to find all zeros. All right? So, I'm going to make this a little bit easier on ourselves. All right? But we still got to do what we were just talking about for a start. All right? All right. So here's your polynomial. Again, whatever we call it, keep the name. All right? Don't change its name just because you don't like it. All right. All right, so here's our polynomial, and I put more terms on the inside. So we're going to write our steps, like first, second, third, like what you're going to do. Okay. So your first step, if you are trying to find all of the zeros, I mean, look at what I'm giving you. I'm giving you a polynomial, but I'm not doing the little semicolon with the binomial. All right, like I'm not giving you where to start. So the first place you got to start is you got to list the possible zeros. All right, so I got to make my list of what's possible so I know where to start. All right, otherwise you're just going to be checking random stuff and you're never going to figure it out. All right. All right, so I need the first and the last. All right, so first I need to look at factors of 8 and then divide those by factors of 1. And I like it when the leading coefficient is 1 because it gives me less to check. Because really all I have to worry about is plus or minus 1, 2, 4, and 8. All right, because all I'm going to be worrying about then is dividing by the 1, so I don't have anything extra. So I don't have to worry about any actual like fractions like, you know, like an 8/3 or something. All right, so here's what you're going to do. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to try to find one. All right, so you are going to start checking when x equals like plus and minus 1. All right, because you just have to find 1. All right, find a 0. Now, depending on what you look up, some like books and videos, they have you do synthetic division, and if you don't get a 0 as a remainder, then it's not one of your zeros. All right? Now the problem with that is you could be doing synthetic division like 4, 5, 6 times and not having it work, and if you mess up on the like adding and subtracting, then you might have missed one. So what I'm going to have you do instead is I'm going to have you actually plug it into the polynomial and figure out when x equals 1, is the output 0? Because if the output is 0, then I found a 0. Right? If it's not 0, then it's not your option. And so that's what you're going to do is you're just going to plug 1 into the function. Right? And you're going to figure out where is it. Basically, if I was trying to plot this point, I'd be plotting the coordinate 1 and something. All right, so it's kind of hard to see, but I do get 0. And so what that means is that I actually have one of the 3 possibilities. So I found a 0. All right, now you can be happy. Because what that means is that one of your values is when x equals 1. And so if I go and I move that over as a factor, I also know one of my factors. Right. So here's the third thing you got to do. Now you want to use that 0. All right, so you found one. Now you can use it. So you got to do synthetic division still, but now you know something to use. Before, you really don't know what to use unless you find it. All right, so I'm going to put 1 on the outside and start doing my synthetic division. You got to remember your polynomial needs to be in descending order, and if you are missing a exponent place, you have to put a placeholder. All right. What did I do? No, I just messed up. Hold on. It's minus 2, not 6. I put 6 right here. It's just a minus 2. That's all. Yeah, I mean, it has to work out because I already found it, so I know it has to work. I just did my multiplying wrong. Right. So you've got one of your zeros. Right. And now this is a quadratic. So once you find your quadratic, everything else from now is the same as what you've done. The only difference now is that you have to do the first 2 steps where you got to list your possible zeros and then you have to find one to use. All right, but pretty much once you found one, now it's synthetic division, and then you have to start going and factoring or quadratic formula. So factor the quadratic formula. All right, or you may have that the square root property. All right, so there's a bunch of different things that we have done in that next step once you get a quadratic. Right. I'm just going to look to see if it's factorable because that's the easiest thing for me. All right. So I'm going to put x squared and minus 8 in my box. And so when I multiply down, I get negative 8x squared. It has to add up to be a minus 2x. All right, so opposite signs. All right, so minus 4 plus 2 is a negative 2, so that works. And I can factor. So what you've got right now as a polynomial is you've got these 3 factors. So if I want to know all of my zeros, I've got the one I started with, and then when x plus 2 is 0, that changes it to negative 2. And when x minus 4 is 0, it changes it to a positive 4. And these are my zeros. And this would be my factored completely polynomial. So steps 3 and 4 are exactly what you've done before. There's no difference between how we started in 7.2 and these 2 steps. The only difference now is that you have to go all the way up here, and now you have to figure out how you're going to start this. All right, so you have to find your zeros. Now, here's the thing, is if positive 1 doesn't work, then you check negative 1. If negative 1 doesn't work, you keep going down the list. You check positive 2, then negative 2, positive 4, negative 4. You keep going down the list until you find one that works. All right, one of them has to work. All right, there's no other option. It has to work. So you will find one. Hopefully it's not the last one. All right, but I'm not having you do this using synthetic division because the old school way would be checking synthetic division like this in step 2 for every single one of those zeros. That's 8 different options, and that sucks. All right, so we don't want to do that. It does.